Okay, good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm Rev 1140, and today I'm going to be reviewing a comic book which I never would have read if I didn't have to do review stuff. And it's not a criticism on any of the creators involved. It's another one of those crime drama kind of things. And I got to say, the basic look and feel of it when I saw the preview images didn't really grab it for me. And it is this. It is the Deadliest Bouquet. It's from Image Comics with Erica Schultz as a writer, who does a very, very good job, and Carol Borelli, who's artwork, who doesn't do as good a job. So you're already kind of getting a not overly impressed vibe from me on this one, and unfortunately it is the case. You're not going to get a big recommendation, but I'm going to tell you about some things I liked first, because I really like some of the characters. Not all of them, but they did at least seem to have like a little more depth to them. The primary three characters are the three sisters. The mum there, this is no spoilers, it happens very early in the comic book, she's dead now. But the three sisters are what's left. And the first comic book seems to spend quite a lot of time not really focusing on the actual mother's death, but the life they lived before when they were children, with their mother being the matriarch, and what happened to their father or a father figure. We're not 100% sure on this one. And you get to experience all of the world, as it were, through these three people, and their relationships are interesting and complicated and kind of funny at times, but that is all I really got from the first issue in terms of things I enjoyed about it. And even then, I'd say not all the characters were really that cool. There's a police detective you meet who is exceptionally bland. There is a uniformed female police officer who is just kind of annoying and not necessarily a good person, but without really any reason for it. She hears a person's name and instantly talks down to the idea of them as if they're going to be a stripper because their name, that is like almost certainly, because she knows about the mother and the surname matches, a given name, and she still just refers to them as being a stripper name. And it just feels like that is, I mean, don't get me wrong, let's say that's probably going to be accurate for a cop, but it's not necessarily a fun thing to read. And it's a crime thing, and there should be an incentive to go investigate the crime. But it's really hard to care that much about what's happened. The family seems very insular, don't trust anybody. Obviously, they've got a lot of background, which they think is probably going to be more involved in it. There's this rumor that there's a mob protection racket going on, and they might have actually been responsible for the death. But that only gets very lightly touched on and comes in at the end of it. But even then, that feels like it's more of just a scene that's happening to showcase one of the three main characters again. It feels like pretty much everything that happens is just an excuse to talk about these three people. And that's fine. They're cool characters. Again, I'm not taking that away from Schultz at all. But I kind of want more of the world. I want more of a reason to care. There's a little reference made to the deceased having a tattoo, which is common amongst revolutionary fighters in Second World War France. Clearly too young to be a revolutionary fighter. But I'm like, okay, that sounds cool. I want to know more about that. That entire bit of information I've just given you is all you get from the comic book. There's not even in the various flashbacks or any kind of foreshadowing, anything else that might be relevant to it. I said in previous reviews that I kind of always hope that when you're reading in issue 1, these threads are going to be pulled out later, and they're going to give you a better, more rounded sense of who these characters are and what their history is and how they play into the world. But this comic book doesn't fill me with that much confidence because of how little attention has been paid to all these things. Pretty much the only thing I can say is we're going to get a lot more about the kids' background, or the characters' background as kids, because that is heavily done in this. There's flashbacks repeatedly throughout them, which the writing's good enough that they weave in quite nicely, but never to the point where I'm 100% satisfied by it. And now I'm going to talk about the artwork. And you know me, usually I talk about the artwork first. I can tell you all these cool things about it. But that is a great cover, and it's very disappointing that the inside art isn't as good. And very, very quickly, I realized this wasn't going to be for me. And it's that page there. But mostly the top half of the page is what's really bugged me. So when I first saw it, I thought this reminds me of watching my girlfriend play one of the Final Fantasy Online games, where pretty much all the trees are the same tree, occasionally turned slightly, but they're just the same tree model. And that's what's happening with those plants. There's 2 different types of plants and only 2 different drawings of plants. The rest of them are exactly the same. They've just been colored slightly differently, as if a leaf is hanging differently or there's slightly different shading. But that's it. It just feels a little bit lazy, and the colors are, again, computer generated, which is not necessarily a bad thing in itself, but it feels like there's very little extra put into it. When you get to the end of this comic book, there's a 3 or 4 page tease of something coming out afterwards. And because the comic book doesn't end with a to be continued or the end or come back next month or whatever, you just turn the page, not realizing it's over, and you're suddenly presented with this really nice, bold artwork with really warm, rich coloring. And I was a bit disappointed that that wasn't the comic book I was reading. Again, don't want to take away from some of the writing. I think there's some really good beats in this comic book, but overall, just not good enough for me, I'm afraid. Okay, that's it for me for now. Again, I've still got a couple things I might review. Who knows, we might come back with one later today, we might not, depends how my day goes. But when I see you again, I will see you. Until then, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye.